Hello, friends. I hope you are all staying safe. We are really living in very interesting times. And birdies wants to join us, I guess, wants to give some hope to all of us. It's very hard to just feel hopeful for the future. But at the same time, astrologically, when I look at astrologically what's going on, why it's happening now, and what's awaiting us, I am actually hopeful. But with all these things happening, with the way George Floyd was murdered, and then the way it was handled, and the way it has been handled, all the events, how these are handled and treated, it's just not right. It's not acceptable. We have to face the fact that we are living in a society where people are not treated justly, fairly. We have to face that fact. We are not a society of equals. Not yet. Again, astrologically, I am hopeful that it is going to happen very soon. How we get there is going to be up to us as individuals and as society. So I just wanted to basically really talk about a little bit what's going on in US and what is expected in the next few years, up to 2 decades, as it relates to this. And when I look at it again, it does give me hope. But the way we are going there, it's not right. My heart goes out to George Floyd's family and anyone in our African American friends, families who have been going through so much brutality, who had been going through so much brutality, so much injustice for centuries. I am very sorry. On behalf of humanity, I am very, very sorry for what you had gone through, for what you are going through. And I just hope that we are, as nation, first of all, as individuals, and again, as nation, as a society, we are going to rise up to this challenge of fixing what's right, what's not right in our society. We need to fix the laws, the way the systems are. We need to have better training for law enforcement officers, for people in authority positions, for everyone. We cannot tolerate injustice. We cannot tolerate all behaviors, thoughts about inequality, about any kind of inequality, not just racism. It can be about, it's not just about skin color or religion or national origin or gender origin. None of these should matter in a society of true equals. And we are better than this. We need to strive for that. We need to have that vision, and each and every one of us should actually do whatever they can for us to get there, hopefully in a peaceful and orderly way. But it is really up to all of us how we get there. It's basically the path is up to us how we get there, but where we are going is clear. We are going to become a society of true equals. Are we going to go there in a very painful way, or are we going to go there in a peaceful, conscious way? That's up to us. So yeah, astrologically, it gives me hope that we are going there. So there are so many dates and so many reasons about why this is happening. Let's just look at it in a very high level way. First of all, we had the Great American Eclipse, solar eclipse, and we are still in the effects of it. And the high magnitude solar eclipse can affect a few years. So we are still living through some of it. And since then, we had eclipses for the whole world. We had eclipses on the Capricorn and Cancer axis for the last 1.5 years. And for that, we are basically being affected as US, big time. Big time we are affected by that, because we have that was basically happening on that very strong axis that we have. We have Sun in Cancer and we have Pluto in Capricorn, and it's affecting our basically second and eighth houses, so our self-worth, also monetary, and basically on the eighth house, it does also have an effect. It can also manifest as crises. So we are definitely, and Pluto is about transformation, and Sun is our core identity. So you kind of are seeing the theme here, right? Our core identity is being transformed, and our self-worth, self-value, our value system being transformed, and our core identity is basically, I would like to think, as coming out, all these gunk that's around us that is not truly reflecting our core values, I would like to think, are being removed, are being cleared out. That's what's happening. And why it's happening, and why it's happening this way? Well, very basically, Saturn in Aquarius globally, that means rebellion. That brings riots. And it's in retrograde right now. And on top of the fixed star named Altair. Altair is the brightest star of the Eagle constellation. And it's associated with US in these modern times. So that's why these rebellions and the riots are being very much influencing US right now. And by the way, riots, what are riots? In the words of Dr. Martin Luther King, riots are the language of unheard. Right? So nowadays, people give a bad name to riots. I hope, and that needs to change, right? We need to understand what's going on. Again, we're not talking about looting. That's a different thing. But the riots, the protests, the peaceful protests, and the riots, one needs to ponder about that. One needs to think about that. we need to acknowledge the fact that we have fundamental problems in the society right now. And that needs to change. We are moving towards the age of Aquarius, and in the age of Aquarius, it is the time. The Aquarius is basically the humanitarian sign of the zodiac. So it is about equality. It is about true equals, true, really caring one another, being having compassion to one another. And of course, it also means about innovation, thinking out of the box, but it is about humanity. So how do we get there? Well, we have pretty much until 2044. We have about 2.5 decades to get there. We have an opportunity to do this in the next 4 years, 3.5 years. If we can do this in the next 3.5 years, in 2024, we are being rewarded big time. If we are not, if we insist on doing this the wrong way, like continuing on these divisions, these polarizations in the society, and instead of trying to understand each other, instead of trying to walk together, arm in arm, towards that goal of true equal society, then we have a high likelihood of living through very dark 2 decades. That's really the bottom line. How we're going to get there? We're going to go to that society of equals. Consciously, compassionately, together, or in a very dark way for 2 decades. That's up to us. And why do I say these things? Well, right now, again, remember, this is not just for US. The whole world is going there. As we are getting closer and closer to the age of Aquarius, the whole world is going there. But it's starting with us. And we have a tremendous opportunity to be the leaders for the whole world. That gives me so much hope that we can do this if we choose to go to that society of true equals in a compassionate, loving, caring way, consciously, together, as one. Then we not only are we going to have the benefits of living in that amazing society, but also showing the world how it can be done, so they don't have to go through those dark times either. That's an amazing opportunity. So well, I do have a lot of Aquarius effect on my chart, so that for me, that's just an amazing, I can see that, I can visualize that. And I do hope that that's going to be the reality we are going to choose. We all have the free will, right? So astrology only shows us the possibilities, but at the end, there are also things that we have to live. That is the fate part. And we are going to that society of equals. How we get there, we are choosing it. So basically, think about it. You're going on your vacation. You are going on that vacation. Let's say, to New York, to Los Angeles, wherever, or to Houston, wherever you're going. Well, you can choose to drive there, or you can fly there, or you can walk there, right? Different paths, but you are going there. Kind of, hopefully that gives a little bit idea. All right, so right now we have the retrogrades. Most of them are either started or starting on our nation's planets. Venus retrograde started on basically next to our Mars. And by the way, the Sabian symbols, that's also another part of astrology technical techniques. And in the Sabian symbol, where Venus retrograde started is right around there. The 21 degree Gemini, which is like 1 degree below, is about really, let's say, labor demonstrations, and not a peaceful one. So the Venus retrograde started before George Floyd's murder. And so basically, and it was on top of our Mars, and Mars is the warrior planet. So definitely the confrontation and not so peaceful demonstrations were expected. And it is, again, only the beginning. Venus has a very interesting journey of 8 years. I'm not going to go into too much detail of it, but in very briefly, in every 8 years, it completes its beautiful pentagram. And maybe I'll just put a link to that in the comment section. And right now, and it has 5 retrogrades during this 8-year journey. And it has recently ended its 8-year journey, and it started its new journey. And right now, Venus in Gemini, this retrograde, is the very first of this new 8-year journey. One of the first of these 5 retrogrades. So think about it as what is going on right now may have an effect up to 80 years. If you think about it, what happened 8 years ago, some of those themes may be showing up in your lives around June, August 2012. What was going on? You may have something, especially as it relates to relationships or money. You may be going through something similar. And right now, we are creating the next 8 years. And so if you think about it, this has what's going on right now, and it started on that labor demonstration, not so peaceful labor demonstration, Sabian symbol. So it has the potential of these events continuing, not just for US, for all around the world, but especially for US because it was also together with our Mars. So it has a stronger impact on us, or it being more confrontational and more like even civil war. Like, I hope we're not going to go there, but it does have the potential, and I need to say this. And that's why it is up to us how we get there. And then we have the Mercury retrograde to a much smaller degree. Remember, the other one has about 8-year potential. Mercury retrograde is gonna go retrograde, and Mercury is ruling Gemini. And it's also gonna go retrograde soon, and it's gonna be in the second half of June. I have all these exact dates on my blog, on my website, and I'll put a link to my blog. So during the Mercury retrograde, which rules the Gemini where Venus is retrograding, for about a week they are retrograding together. And Mercury goes retrograde where our nation's sun is, and it's also conjuncting with Sirius, the brightest star on the sky. And it does have a connection to Venus. So this is a very, very significant Venus retrograde. It does have an impact on our society. It does have an impact in terms of our society structure, and it does have on our relationships with one another, and it does have an impact on our monetary system. So it is, both of them are going to change. Uranus in Taurus is continuing its 7-year journey, and Uranus in Taurus is definitely promising maybe promising is not the right word, but definitely it is indicating that monetary systems all around the world will change. Also, some significant earthquakes are expected in the next few years. So, earthquakes physically and earthquakes in monetary systems. Also, this year's retrograde season, we have Pluto, Jupiter, and Saturn. They are in retrograde on our nation's second house, self-worth and money. Pluto, the planet of transformation, death, if we choose to, so that we can be reborn again, or we can transform in a conscious way. But either way, it's transformation. Out with the old, in with the new. And Jupiter is there. It magnifies whatever it is close to. So it is together with, and it's going to come together with Pluto soon. It was together with Pluto in April. Look what's going on since then. And it's going to come back again with Pluto. They are in our second house across our nation's sun in a wide degree. So it's definitely affecting our core identity and our money and our self-worth. Saturn is also retrograde right now on top of our Altair riots, and it's going to come back to Capricorn. Capricorn is associated with the government, with the leaders of government and corporate. So stricter governance all around is to be expected. And then when Saturn conjuncts with our Pluto, our nation's Pluto at 27 degrees Capricorn, and then it's going back even further, then it's coming back in November and December. It's basically going direct, and then when it goes to Aquarius again, it is meeting with Jupiter at 0 degrees Aquarius. That is also another important point at the end of December, which happens about every 20 years. So last time, well, they will think back to 80s and what was going on. So it's going to set again the theme for the next years to come. In Aquarius, right, again, humanitarian equalities, innovation, obviously technological changes will be amazing also. So I hope that we can use some of it and we can even transform our society, upgrade our society even faster. So this is only just this year. And of course, we also have Neptune going retrograde soon. So we will have at one point, like so many, I think about 6 planets in retrograde. And then in September and October, Mars is going retrograde. The warrior planet in the sign of war areas, and also infectious diseases, diseases with fever. It is going retrograde. Yeah, not, just kind of be cautious this summer. We totally forgot about Corona right now, the COVID-19, with all the planets that kind of put let's say, increase the effect of COVID-19, they are in retrograde. So, yeah, it's expected to slow down in June. It is. But come Mars retrograde, and then Saturn and Jupiter connection, and the December eclipse, it is highly likely that December, January, February, we may have another strong COVID-19 all around the world, not just for US. Back to our nation. So now this was 2020. And then in 2021, we also have some interesting parts. And I will actually look into a few dates that I know I made some notes about it. I hope you can see me. I just cannot share the screen as far as I know in YouTube. So I need to write it. I need to go through this. So very quickly. Oh yeah. And also this, another thing about this Venus, well, retrograde. So there's something called, I think it's pronounced as Jazimi, something like that. I believe it's an Arabic word, and pardon me if I'm not saying it correctly. That means that just happens not very often, and it is happening on June 3rd, tomorrow at 12:44 p.m. Central Time. Take a moment, take a few moments. 12:44 p.m. Central Time, 1:44 p.m. Eastern Time, 10:44 a.m. Pacific Time. Take 10-15 minutes. Go within and say a prayer or two for George Floyd's family, for our African American friends, families, brothers, sisters, for everyone, for our nation, for our society, for our nation, for the whole humanity. Say a prayer or two in whatever way you feel you are called to. Venus meets with Sun, and then it goes behind. It's retrograding, right? Sun is going this way, and then Venus is going this way. They meet, and then Venus goes behind the Sun. So tomorrow, 12:44 p.m. Central Time is when they meet. Go within at that time and pray for compassion, love, and a peaceful and quick resolution to what's wrong in our society and how it can be fixed easily, quickly, peacefully, gracefully, with compassion and care, so that we can live in this society as true equals. Please, universe, hear us. Universe, God, Allah, Buddha, however you are called to communicate. We need that collective energy. And when the Venus goes behind, it is reborn. For about 9 months, it is Lucifer Venus, morning star, sometimes it's called. And in the past, in ancient civilization, it is associated with pandemics and war. And also the change on top, like a king. Long live the king, new king, right? So it is very much, so it's not regarded in a positive light. Expect some changes in the next 9 months, Lucifer. It does happen quite often. It's not like, but during that time, ancients observed, and then they realized, okay, it is more likely that they would observe the Lucifer, and they would just expect being attacked by the neighboring tribes, for example. So they would take precautions, or they would be more cautious with their health, and so forth. And some kings would just fear it. So we have also Lucifer Venus rising soon. So tomorrow, June 3rd, 12:44 p.m. Central Time, 1:44 p.m. Eastern, 10:44 a.m. Pacific Time. Take 5-10 minutes, pray for yourself, pray for your neighbors, pray for our African American, especially our African American brothers, sisters, George Floyd's family, our whole nation, and the whole humanity, for the whole world. Pray for peace, pray for compassion, pray for love. Very important. What else? I'm glad that I just made a note on that, about that. All right, so we were back to 2021, lots of things happening again, but I just want to fast forward. We do have a lot of things, 2021, 2022, a lot of things that are directly affecting us. But I want to fast forward to 2023 and 2024. Why it's so significant. In 2023, very quickly, I'm going to look into the dates, so because they are so close to each other. So we do have in 2022, at the end of December, I think in December 22nd, let me look at that one. Yeah, December 27th, December 27th, 2022, we have our nation's Pluto return. It happens on almost every 3 centuries. Huge, right? So this is going to be the first time, and in many nations all around the world, they haven't had it yet. So we are having that. And by the way, I keep repeating these things over and over in my different videos. So in case you haven't watched one, or maybe you forgot, so I'm just kind of repeating these things again. So 2022, end of 2022, we have our Pluto return. Remember, that's in our second house. So self-worth and the money and transformation, we are transforming. And by the time we have about 2.5 years, if we do this right, accept the responsibility, Saturn loves the responsibility. If we accept the responsibility that we have a fundamental problem in our society, and we take true, serious steps to fix that, and we go through these changes with love, compassion, care, consciously, lovingly, as one, then that actually transformation is an amazing thing. If we do not, well, Pluto checks up on us at the end of December 2022 in 2.5 years. And then it gives us another 10 months. It comes back, it's going to go retrograde. It goes to Aquarius in 2023, 0 degrees, and I believe 21 minutes. And then it comes back to Capricorn again. I believe it's in October 2023. Yeah. Yes, October 11th, 2023. So it's about 10 months since our return. It is coming back to the same degree as our Pluto. It's not exact. It's about, I think, around 20 minutes difference, but it is coming back to 27 degrees. So in 2.5 years, the Pluto is about 24 degrees right now, coming to 27 degrees Capricorn, saying, hey, how are you doing with that transformation? Are you fixing it? Well, expect some problems if we are insisting on doing the wrong, on staying in the wrong way. I hope we are not choosing that path. I hope not. So some distractions, some changes, and then it's leaving. It's going to Aquarius, 0 degrees, very close to Altair again, because Altair is in 1 degrees and 47 minutes. So it's within a degree, less than 2 degrees. So it's just like, hey, US, what are you doing? And then coming back to 27 degrees Capricorn again in October in 10 months, 2023. So it's almost 3.5 months, 3.5 years. And we better have our act together by then. If not, October 2023, it's coming back and it's going direct again. And then it's going back to Aquarius for 2 decades, from 2024 January to all the way 2044. So that is why I am talking about a potentially dark 2 decades. I mean, obviously there are other ones, but I'm not going to talk to you about all these hundreds of variables that, I'm going through. So these are the major ones and easy to remember. So those 2 decades, either we live in that society of true equals and enjoy this transformation, appreciate this transformation, and truly reap the benefits of it, or we go through the transformation through potentially destructive and even violent ways. Because Pluto doesn't take pity if you insist on doing it the wrong way. It just doesn't. Saturn is actually a little bit easier. Saturn is more patient. Pluto just says you are changing, whether you like it or not. So that is why it is very, very important about the path we choose as a nation these days. And during that time, in 2023, we also have a Chiron return. About every half a decade, about every half a century or 5 decades, we have a Chiron return. So usually as humans, we go through one Chiron return about the age of 48 to 52, roughly, mostly 48, 50. Probably from a karmic perspective, the toughest Chiron sign is Aries, about the identity crisis. And a lot of Chiron is the wounded healer, and that wound that is so deep inside and that never heals completely. Chiron is a Cantor and just basically was wounded by his friend Hercules in a war, and he could not heal himself. It was so painful. He was like in the mythology, Greek mythology, he is considered to be the very first doctor. He looked for all these different herbs, tried different ways. He could not heal himself. He healed everyone around him, but not himself. And at the end, Zeus took pity on him, and because he was a Cantor, he was immortal, right? He was in this pain, he just couldn't kill himself. So Zeus took pity on him, and he granted Chiron the death so that Chiron would be freed of his pain, because he helped so many others. Hence the wounded healer. So by helping, we all have our wounds. We all have our Chiron. And Chiron in Aries is about identity. Because it's about finding yourself and who you really are. And it is not easy facing your darkness. We all have dark and light in ourselves, and facing our darkness is not easy. And nowadays, by the way, Chiron is going through obviously Aries. So I think it's in about maybe 70s, the ones who were born in 1970, I guess right now, they are just having their Chiron return. I believe right now it's 8 degrees Aries. So our nation's Chiron is at 20 degrees Aries. So in 2023, it moves the slowest. Chiron moves the slowest in the sign of Aries. He wants to make sure that we truly let our core identity, who we really are, shine. Not what the society imposes on us, not our parents impose on us, not what we feel how we should be. facing our demons, facing our darknesses, and obviously upgrading ourselves, right? But also accepting ourselves and having compassion towards ourselves, forgiving ourselves. Again, do not get me wrong. I'm not saying, okay, act on your darkness. I'm not talking about that, right? It is the ones who did the shadow work know what I'm talking about. So Chiron will be at 20 degrees in August 2023. So in about 3 years, less than 3.5 years, we are having our Chiron return. And it's our nation's Chiron is on the 4th house, the house of karma, the house of our roots, the house of our nation, like home, our country. Yeah, our Chiron is in a really very karmic house and in Aries. So we definitely are going to go through very, very an identity crisis, facing our darkness and upgrading ourselves, right? Understanding that darkness, doing shadow work, and upgrading ourselves for the better, for the light. So last time we had our Chiron return was in April 1974. April 1974. Think back what happened then. What happened in May 1974 or the summer of 1974? That may give you an idea about how it works, how these Chiron returns may have an effect on our nation. So, August 2023, our next Chiron return. And this year, almost every retrograde, all the eclipses are affecting our nation big time. 2021, 2022, these effects are continuing. New effects are happening, but especially this year, it's all about US. And then, obviously, these riots, protests are going to start moving, spreading to especially Europe, Spain, and Italy, potentially, Iran, and in other continents, Iran, and China, Hong Kong, China. Definitely, these are the ones that seem to be most affected with the Mars retrograde towards riots. So it's probably going to spread to these first, or it's going to have higher impact on these nations come September Mars retrograde. All right, back to us again. So 2022 up to us, how we transform at the end of 2022. Plus, Pluto is like knocking on our door saying, hey, what's going on? Since you were founded, I haven't checked up on you. What are you doing? How are you doing? Are you doing a good job to be the best you can be, to truly live in harmony? No? Okay, let me help you get there. Yes, great, because then we can have our karmic rewards. If not, then in 3.5 years, October 2023, Pluto is coming back, and then that's it. Pluto is gonna run out of patience if we do not do a good job to transform ourselves to be a society of true equals by then awaits us the 2 decades of dark times where we go through this change in a very painful way. And remember, Chiron return. another big one. What else? We also have, all the other ones in 2023, Pluto coming back and forth, and Saturn and Jupiter all moving around, having some squares, some opposings. Really interesting times. Again, this change is for all humanity, but it is especially affecting us, giving us a tremendous opportunity to lead by example, to be the compassionate, loving, caring society of equals, and show, basically be amazing leaders and the guides to the rest of the world also. So that's pretty much. I was going to actually talk a lot about the eclipses and all these details, but I felt like this was a really, really important high level, macro level things about what is going on and why it's happening to us in a big way. Okay, so it is time. And also in, I believe, 2023, towards the end of 2023, we have an opportunity for a karmic, basically reward time. In 2024, we have South Node definitely in conjunction with our Mars around that time when we have the Chiron return. So yeah, definitely it's an interesting time. And then with our 1974 return, think back to April 1974. Now going back to the South Node, in this time, the South Node, at that time in 1974, Mars was conjuncting, our Mars was conjuncting this South Node. This time in 2024, in 2023, we have that Chiron conjunction, and then in 2024, we have this South Node conjuncting our nation's Saturn in Libra, 14 degrees Libra. And that is also another interesting one. Saturn, the Lord of Karma. So by that, 2024, in almost 4 years, if we do a good job of this transformation, South Node, the karmic, coming together with our Saturn, is ready to give us our rewards as a society. Wouldn't that be amazing? Wouldn't that be amazing to live in that society? That's an amazing reward itself. And also being rewarded by the skies, by the powers that be, karmically, truly being compassionate leaders all around, for ourselves, for our society, for the world. Wouldn't that be amazing? So, my friends, a lot of things are happening. A lot of these things are happening. And I do hope that, and also for the eclipse that's happening on June 5th, I'll probably write about them, but on June 5th, 2:12 p.m. Central Time, so 3:12 p.m. Eastern, and noon, 12:12 p.m. Interesting, 12:12 p.m. Pacific Time for the moon eclipse is happening. So that is on 15 degree. Remember, moon eclipse means moon is opposing sun. Solar eclipse means moon and sun are together. So this is basically the new moon, right? They are opposed at the full moon, and then solar eclipse, new moon. So moon eclipse, 15 degree Gemini sun, 15 degree Sagittarius moon. Very interesting. And actually I was looking at that Sabian symbol, and I just want to make sure that I am going to, because I keep looking at these things in different ways. So I do believe I remember it correctly, but I just want to make sure that I remember. Yeah, So the 15-degree Gemini sun, so I look at, you kind of in the Sabian, it's kind of an art, but the 15-degree Sabian equivalent is a woman activist in an emotional speech dramatizing her cause. So it is about a passionate response to a deeply felt new experience. It is pretty telling, isn't it? A woman activist in an emotional speech dramatizing her cause. That's what's happening in this eclipse. And it has a huge effect on our nation states. It's a few of our nation's planets. It is impacting a lot us very in a big way. And also the next Sabian symbol to that one is also another interesting one that I want to share with you. Two Dutch children talking to each other, exchanging their knowledge. So, and then the keynote about it is the need to clarify one's experiences through actual contacts with like-minded individuals. So I'm going to leave you with those two. Remember, the Venus retrograde started with not so necessarily not, let me just read it directly. This one also, instead of me telling it from the memory to you. The Venus retrograde started, again, when you look at these two, started around tumultuous labor demonstration. And the keynote about this is revolutionary impact of mental concepts upon the collective emotions and desires of men. In conjuncting about this together with another symbol, dancing couples in a harvest festival. The wholesome enjoyment of organic process and emotional drives. So my friends, I mean, this is also our Mars symbol. And what is going on right now, it is not unique to US. And also we have as a chart on our nation's chart, all these retrogrades are also triggering, and the eclipses and the couple of most eclipses in the last few years and the upcoming eclipses are triggering what was going on the Lincoln days and Civil War days. It is going back, indicating those days. Retrograde past coming up, telling us, the powers that be are telling us, it is time, enough is enough, fix this. And with Pluto return is approaching, we are given this amazing opportunity. And also Saturn is going to be in Aquarius at the end of December, and then all for 2.5 years until 2023. And then Jupiter is also going to be there for the next year for about a year. Then it's moving on to Pisces areas, roughly about a year every sign. So 2021, Saturn and Jupiter are going to be in Aquarius. We are given tremendous opportunity to fix what is fundamentally wrong in our society. Think back to the Civil War, think back to Lincoln days, the things that could not be fixed by then, they are coming up so that we can fix them. So we can choose to do this consciously, lovingly, caringly, compassionately, together, or we can choose to pretend, la 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 la, and allow this divisiveness among us to even widen. And then that's going to be very, very hard, very tough transformation. So it is up to us. I do hope that we are going to choose the path of love, compassion, togetherness, And we are, each and every one of us will truly embrace the equality for one another and march towards that goal together, arm in arm, as brothers, sisters, as one. Thank you, my friends. I hope that I gave you some ideas about what's going on and why it's going on in US. And remember, it is going to affect other nations also. It's just especially happening right now. And the next 4 years, it's very, very important to us. And it has a potential for 2.5 decades. So I hope we will choose the right way. We will choose the compassionate way with our hearts. One can hope, and I, as with someone with so much Aquarius effect on my chart, in the words of Imagine, I can imagine that. I can imagine where we are all together. So I do hope that you join me. I hope that you agree with me on that. And I hope we can change our society for the better, and so that we can be true equals. Thank you. And do not forget tomorrow, 12:44 p.m. Central Time, 1:44 p.m. Eastern Time, 10:44 a.m. Pacific Time. Take a few moments, say a prayer or two for yourself, for George Floyd's family, for everyone, and for our society, and for the world. Thank you.